just want to thank you very much for coming on today. This takes a lot to bring some memories up about probably the topic that I'd like to talk about today, and that's losing your child to cancer. So can you tell me a little bit about like where you grew up, or a little bit about yourself?
So I primarily grew up outside of Chicago. So I am a transplant to where I'm living now.
Sure. Yeah.
And my parents divorced actually when I was 2. And I didn't spend a whole lot of time with my dad. He was in the military and kind of just, when he was on leave or in the summers or for holidays. And my mom remarried when I was 7. And just to kind of give you a little background of my history, because it does play into actually how I process the loss of my son and how I process what happened after. So my mom, when she remarried my stepdad, it was a very abusive, alcoholic home. And
that you grew up in?
Yes, that is the environment that I grew up in Illinois. And there's some other, trauma things that happened as I was growing up. And I think that's important to note because the things that you are exposed to as you are developing and as you grow up, I think those traumas imprint on you.
Absolutely.
And they leave coping mechanisms. And I think the coping mechanisms that your family develops or that you view or witness, I think, leave an imprint.
Sure, absolutely.
And my family specifically has a really good, really historic method of dealing with things. And if you don't look at it, it's not there.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think you're alone. I think you're alone. I think a lot of people, and it might not be intentional. It just simply might be because they don't know what to do or how to handle a situation.
I think it's generational too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and if you look back in that generation, so a large part of, if you don't look at it, it's not there, has carried forward to me. And it is unfortunately how I cope with a lot of things, or if you don't quit moving, it won't catch up to you.
Oh,
right?
Sure. Yes.
So, and I'll maybe bring that up. And so I grew up in Illinois in that environment.
Yeah.
I moved here when I was in Minnesota when I was 17 to live with my dad at
your biological dad.
My biological dad. Yep. He retired from the military when I was 12 and moved back to Minnesota at that point where this is where he was from. Mm-hmm. So I moved here to live with him at 17.
And that was because of, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I kind of want to clarify it. It was because of the abuse.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. At that point, my mom had divorced my stepdad.
Oh, okay.
But, it was kind of, domestic violence is and anybody who's been through that situation, I mean, I don't fault her. It's hard to be in that situation. You see a lot of domestic violence victims. They leave, they go back, and it's hard to disconnect from that. And if you've never seen that or been involved in that, it's really hard to understand that. It's very easy to be judgmental. Why don't they just leave?
Right.
Why can't they see what's happening? And they really can't. And, we had been through a series of, she did divorce him. We lived in a domestic violence shelter. She tried to disconnect, but she would go back. And, it's just very dysfunctional. So,
and you've done a lot of work.
Yes.
To articulate that.
Yes. Therapy is great.
Therapy is
great. Yeah, I don't discount that. I recommend it for everybody. Mm-hmm. But at the time, as a young woman, that does a lot of damage to your self-esteem. You're seeking approval from wherever you can find it, alcohol, men.
And your standards are
low, very, very low. Yes, very low. And you don't know where to find that. And you're always trying to be good,
People pleaser.
Yep, trying to be good, trying to take care of everyone, trying to be invisible, trying to not look at it because then it's not there. And it's really very disconcerting. And, in so many ways, I was trying to be perfect, all the time, a good student. But then in many ways, I was falling apart, so very a very oxymoron type of existence, but it kind of came to a head.
A very normal.
Yeah,
That
100%.
life. That's you have, and you just the way you articulated it is very common. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's very common.
And it's very, and you see that in so many abusive situations. And unfortunately for my mom, you know, being the actual wife, she just couldn't make that disconnect for herself at the time.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
for myself, I had an avenue for an out, and I took it and came to live with my dad.
Sure.
Now, my dad was not necessarily a real traditional parent either. You know, it was a Vietnam veteran, PTSD victim, not a real, very narcissistic tendencies, kind of not a real good parent either. But at least there wasn't that going on. So I kind of went from one situation to another.
Can I stop you? And I know we've got a lot to cover here real quick, but there's a spot in there that you talked about that you seized an opportunity or an avenue.
Mm-hmm.
That opportunity and that avenue, how did you identify that?
I think I just hit rock bottom. I really did.
At what age?
17.
17. Okay.
Yeah.
You were just broken.
Yeah.
Lost.
100%.
At 17.
Yes.
You saw the domestic abuse going on and you were surrounded by it. It was around you.
And I was at rock bottom. Like I couldn't, honestly, at 17, didn't really want to live anymore. I mean, I just couldn't see, I couldn't see an end to what was happening, and couldn't see my own value, couldn't see my own worth. And that's really hard to talk about.
I'm sorry. I know it
but,
is.
It's the truth. It's the truth of what was happening then. And you hear about, we talk about teen suicide statistics and things that are happening. And unfortunately, at that age, kids are not developmentally, haven't reached that full development.
That's why good children.
And they're impulsive, and they can't see the full picture. And I certainly couldn't at that age either. You couldn't have told me, you know what, 20 years from now, things are going to be different. You know, you will have, you can get an education, you can be an adult, you can get a job, you can do these things. But at 17, you don't know that. All you know is what you're living in that moment. And I was certainly there. But in addition to that, I was surrounded by all of these terrible things that were not normal. Certainly all these trauma things that were happening. So I felt like I was at rock bottom, and I just didn't have anywhere else to go. And I was fortunate enough to have at least this avenue, which was another parent that I could escape to. And a lot of kids don't have that are in that type of situation. So I was lucky.
First of all, I want to say hats off to you to talk about that deep spot in there and be able to articulate that. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's very tough. Thank you. Because this is real feel insights, and real feel hurts. It's scary, and it's vulnerable. I mean, laying yourself out there to expose, some arteries.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. But I think to be honest and you use that word truth.
Yeah.
Truth is hard sometimes to even understand what is truth in your spot, in your, and then you're so clouded by emotions on top of it. So thank you for that, for sharing that part. What was it that you said, fortunately, you had an avenue to go to another parent. What was it? Did your mother help you with it? Did you just say, you know what was it that sent you down that avenue?
I really, honestly, it was just, I just reached a point. I bought a bus ticket.
By yourself?
By myself. Went to Chicago, got on the bus, called my dad when I got here, and he came pick me up.
You called your dad when you were in Chicago?
No, when I got to Detroit.
Okay. You did that all. Not a grandparent, not a neighbor, not a friend, not a mother.
No.
Nobody.
No.
You knew you were at rock bottom.
Yeah.
You used the word suicide a little bit in there. Was there some dark
Feelings. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
I am
Yeah.
so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I get. That's it.
But you know,
We can say
I am
it.
not a victim. I am an overcomer. So
Yeah.
I absolutely, there's a big distinction between this, and I hesitate to, I love my mother a lot. I absolutely do. And she has been through a lot in her childhood and her life, but her and I are a lot different in how we handle things. And I, despite all the things that I have been through, childhood, the things that came later with my family, I've never been like a victim mentality at all. I feel like I have overcome a lot of things. I've gone through a lot of things, but they don't define myself in that manner.
Again, I'm going to pull out a word you used. You've gone through it.
Yes.
Sometimes that word, it's just one word for you. When we're uncomfortable, when we're hurting, like you use the word rock bottom, when we're there, we don't want to go through because it hurts so badly. Have you resolved to the only way to get to the other side is through it?
You have to. Yeah. You can't. Don't look at it because it's not there. Doesn't work. It might work for a time, but it doesn't resolve what's going on. It just that whatever you're not looking at tends to get bigger, and it gets worse, and you have to deal with it at some point. It's okay to ignore it maybe for a while, for a time. Grief is like that. You can ignore it for a while maybe, but you do have to deal with it at some point.
Well, and sometimes you just don't know which avenue to go down. So I know there's a time, maybe you're not saying I'm not going to go through it.
Right.
You just don't know which avenue. So sometimes time will allow you to open up a door and which door to go through.
Yes.
There's no manual to this thing called life, so going through it, I say that word right there is one word, but going, through is a big word.
Yes.
That's a hard word, because we don't want to go through that. We want to go under it, around it.
Yeah. Ignore it.
Through it. Yeah, and ignore it. Yeah.
Kick it.
Right. So we must go through it, but we also can maybe take some time, but identifying it and then just trying to figure it out what it is, an approach. So you arrived in Minnesota.
Yeah.
At your biological dad's at 17 years old.
Yeah.
A broken
never mess.
Yeah.
Yep. I finished high school here. I had most of my credits done in Illinois already, so it was pretty easy to finish high school. I met my husband when I was 18, so I've been with him ever since. We've been married. I just asked him, how long have we been married? I think that's funny. We've been together since 90. Well, no, we've been together since 89. We got married in 91. So whatever that is, I don't know, was I 30?
It's almost going to be 35 years.
Yeah,
they're around somewhere around there.
Yeah, there you go. It's been a long time. Anyway, it's been a long time.
I have to laugh about that because, you've married 1 year. 1 year anniversary, 5 years.
I know.
I know. By the time you're at 25, 30, it's like...
he says 100. I say
sure.
It depends on the day how long we're married.
Yeah,
but we've been married a month, and it's not always been easy. Some years have been great, some years have been not great. Right now, our marriage is better than it's ever been.
Well, anybody that's been married, for some time knows that
there's ups and downs.
It's just the seasons of life.
Yeah.
You welcome children.
Yep.
Then you go through, raising the children and then, the empty nesting and all of those stages. So how you approach it it's
but
it can be challenging.
It can, and rewarding, and all the things being for sure.
So it's going good at 35 years.
Yes, it's going strong. Yes,
strong. Okay,
we're enjoying having the kids growing now, and it's a good time of life for sure. But we got married in 91. We had Tyler actually before we got married. He was 6 months old at our wedding, and that was okay too. I mean, we did things a little different, but Tyler was premature, so he was just a little guy when he was born. He was really sick. He was 5 pounds 1 ounce when we had him. He was 6 weeks early. My water broke actually 2 weeks before that, so I was in the hospital, and for 2 weeks as my water broke, and then they couldn't stop my labor anymore, and then he was born. And he was 2 weeks in the ICU, and
So what brought on that 6 week? That's early.
we don't know. Yeah,
Never did come to
no, but I had a lot of trouble just in general with not obviously getting pregnant with Tyler, but after him, there was 8 years between Tyler and my next child. Yeah, and we went through fertility treatments and a lot of struggles having the next one. And we had, in fact, decided that it was okay. We weren't going to have any children, which was really harder for me than it was for my husband. Right? It's hard for a woman to feel like something is wrong with you. Like you can't fulfill God's purpose, I guess. You know, it was hard for me to come to that place of, okay, I can provide this.
That's a very difficult, even if you have one child,
Right.
you're wondering, well, what's going on? Why? And then, you know, some women, it's just, they have that heavy drive to have children, some don't. And if you have it, obviously you met it. There's no words for that during that time.
I went through a grieving period.
Yes.
And I'm finally had come to that piece of, okay, you know, we have one healthy child. This is, you know, he's amazing. It's okay. And so stopped all those fertility treatments. And that was hard on our marriage, certainly those years. And then got pregnant.
Wow.
And miscarried.
Ooh.
And that was tough.
Ooh.
And it wasn't the first miscarriage. We had tubal pregnancy in there and a different miscarriage in there. So this was the third one.
But all the treatments,
yes,
you
correct.
had stopped them all.
Yeah,
and this is all natural now. Okay.
It was devastating, but also like surprising. Also, like I was having a hard time processing that. And then wasn't a year later, I got pregnant with my second son.
Okay.
And that pregnancy was textbook. It was, in fact, I think he was born maybe 1 or 2 days from his due date. I mean, it was just like, I was a practical pregnancy, but
Well,
it was just textbook. Labor was awesome. And he was just a little baby when he came out. And then not 6 months later, I was sitting on the toilet with another positive pregnancy test, bawling my eyes out to my mother. What am I going to do with another baby? It was good. Yeah, it was.
wow.
Yeah.
All the prayers
I
are just.
know. And all of a sudden, that uterus is on overdrive. Yeah. Yep. And
Well,
then,
they say pregnancy enhances pregnancy.
I know.
So,
And then my
sometimes.
last child was a girl.
Okay.
And which was, of course, has been just a huge blessing. My daughter, there you go. So, yeah. And I think, God always has a plan. I mean, he knows what's what. And I think, of course, now looking back, when we get to the meat and potatoes of what you want to talk about, having Tyler pass away, not that one child ever replaces another, but I don't know, honestly, if our family would have been able to hold together without those children. Yes. Because it's, there's a reason why there's a high rate of divorce after a child dies. There's no doubt about it. But when you have these other 2 children there who need their parents, and you have to get out of bed, and you have to take care of them, and they need you, and they love you, and they're falling apart, and they need their mom and dad. What else can you do? That's your job, and what else can you do?
And you felt compelled. So marriage was really tough.
Yes.
So, okay, so I'm going to back up just a little bit here because I want to make sure. So Tyler is your oldest child, and that's unfortunately the one that you
Yes.
lost to cancer. Thank you. You have shared so much already, and I appreciate that. And it's very difficult. So I really kind of want to ask you, like, how old were you when you found out that Tyler had cancer? How old were you?
I had him when I was 20, and he was 18 when he was diagnosed, so I would have been 38.
38.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your other children, the other two children?
There's 8 years between them, and then 8 years between my next son, and then 9 years between him and his sister. So
10 and 9.
Yeah.
Something like that. I just want to know that.
yeah,
And so you go in, is he not, is Tyler not feeling well, or what's going on?
yeah, it's kind of a there's a lot of what ifs in this story. Like, should we or should have done this, and I've played all of these games so
Sometimes I'm sure of it.
Yep. And if there's any advice I would give to a parent who was at the other end of this, where I'm sitting now,
Like at the beginning
well,
stages.
beginning stages of where I'm sitting now. Yeah. Because for the first good year or two, even 5 years, I played this game of I should have did this, or I should have done that, should have been, could have, would have. So at the beginning of our story, Tyler was diagnosed in October.
Mm-hmm.
In that spring, Tyler had a 4-wheeler, and it endoed his 4-wheeler.
Sure.
He basically flipped it over.
Okay.
Now, Tyler was a very outdoorsy kid, as were my other kids. And we did not really put a lot of restraints on them. We have 4-wheelers, we have dirt bikes, we have we have snowmobiles, we live in the country, and my kids didn't watch TV. They didn't play PlayStation. They didn't sit in the house. They rode rocks and sticks and climbed trees and got stitches, and they did all of those things.
I get it.
Yes.
I get it. Yes.
They had that kind of childhood. So Tyler was very outdoorsy. He was riding his 4-wheeler, and I don't know what he did. I don't know. I got a lot of gray hairs from my kids. But anyway, he had a little accident, and he flipped over on his 4-wheeler, and he hurt his back.
Okay.
And he also did physical jobs with his dad. At the time, my husband had a tree service.
Sure.
Tyler worked with him.
Sure.
And
So he was physical.
yes.
And his back was hurting. So I thought maybe it was just like overexertion.
Yeah. So I sent him to a chiropractor because that seems pretty logical, right? So he went in, got adjusted. It felt better. Move on with your life.
Sure.
He's 18.
Right.
He's very physically fit.
He's a senior now?
He's going into his senior year. So his birthday was in July.
Okay.
And we held him back for kindergarten his first year. So he repeated kindergarten.
Okay.
So that summer, he was going into his senior year that fall.
Okay.
So that summer, he complained of a backache intermittently. So I sent him back to the chiropractor a couple of times to get him adjusted.
Sure.
I'm thinking, this is lingering from
That's not right.
from this 4-wheeler accident.
Sure.
But he never stopped doing things either. So, I'm also thinking he never really let it heal. So he's got a lingering injury. He never slows down. He never stops doing his stuff. He's still working with his dad. Tree service is very busy all summer long. So he's climbing trees. He's pulling brush. He's running a chainsaw. So kind of picture what I'm thinking, right? I'm also have always been the mom, like walk it off if you're, you're not.
Yeah.
If you're not bleeding and there's not a bone sticking out, we're, probably pretty good here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So that fall when he went back to school, it was his senior year, and we're about 2 weeks ish into the senior year, and it really starts to hurt. So now I'm concerned. So I took him into our primary care doctor, the same doctor that he's seen since he was born.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, we've been dealing with this. It doesn't seem to be getting better. And now it seems to be getting worse. And I'm kind of getting concerned about this.
Yeah. So the accident happened in July.
And no, it was before summer. So like maybe June-ish, maybe May, kind of spring, like that.
So now we're into September.
Yep, we're beginning of September. Yep. And I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't getting out of bed. It was just like Mom, my back is bugging me.
You have an 18-year-old kid
Yeah.
here, shouldn't be having some.
Who never complains about anything.
Sure.
Also. So I go into his primary care, and his primary care is like the same as me. You know, it's probably, I'm like, well, I've sent him to the chiropractor a few times. It's like, well, we can try physical therapy. You know, maybe you've got some.
So it wasn't broke. I mean, I'm assuming you did an X-ray.
The doctor was not going to do an X-ray. He's just going to do physical therapy because he's thinking like me, this is just something. And I said that day, why don't we do an X-ray?
Okay.
We're here. Can we just do an X-ray just to alleviate my mom?
Yep. You're
Mom, whatever.
Yes.
And he does an X-ray and he finds a fracture in his back.
Oh no.
And I remember standing there that day with the doctor, and we're both scratching our heads thinking, what the heck? Like, really? Like, why? And this has been months after this accident. And the doctor thought this was weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was weird because if this had happened months ago, it really should have healed by now.
Right.
And he's like, well, yeah, that's odd, but let's do physical therapy.
Okay.
If it's really bothering him still, we can put him in a hard plastic back brace to really just keep him stable, you know, smooth and stable.
Mm-hmm.
But let's try physical therapy first, and then give me a call if the pain starts to get worse, and we'll fit him out this brace. It wasn't a week later, and the pain was getting worse. And then he also had said, if the pain gets worse, we'll do an MRI.
Okay.
So it wasn't a week later. We got the physical therapy appointment. The pain was getting worse. And the MRI, he couldn't get in until October 10th. And
we're in September.
Yeah, well, it was towards the end of September.
Okay.
So all this stuff takes time.
Sure.
So, so kind of there. And so in the meantime, he's trying to do physical therapy. It's really painful. And this pain is getting exponentially worse. I mean, we went from having just like an annoyance to, I'm at home with him and I don't really know what to do. He's having a hard time getting out of bed. He's having a hard time moving. Then he gets the brace. The brace really isn't helping. He can't go upstairs to his bed anymore. He's sleeping on the couch. I'm like, I don't even, like, I don't know what's going on here. And he goes in to have the MRI. It's October 10th. His grandpa took him to the MRI. I was working that day and got off work and I ran to Walmart. I remember this like it happened yesterday. I'm standing in the clock aisle. I was shopping for a clock. I don't even know why. Shopping for a clock. And I'm standing in the Walmart in that aisle and his doctor calls me. And I look down and I see that it's his doctor and I pick up the phone and he's like, where are you? Are you somewhere that you can sit down? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I'm in Walmart. No, but go ahead. Yeah. He's like, what's going on? He's like, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but Tyler's MRI shows that he has a golf or a softball-sized tumor in his lung. He's got cancer in his spine. He's got cancer in his femurs. He's got cancer in his pelvis. We need you to get him up to Roger Maris to get a biopsy, like right now. And you're all alone. I'm all alone. I'm in Walmart and looking at these student clocks. I'm thinking like how can this be? How can this be happening? I don't. And people talk about like life-changing moments, and I don't think I've ever had one. Even the birth of my children, I don't think I've ever had one before a sentence until
at that moment.
Because it's there. I mean, there's this. This is a before and after moment in my life. Was right there. Even the death of Tyler was not that impactful. No, because at that moment, I realized that like nothing in my life was ever going to be safe again. Mm-hmm. Not ever. Like nothing that I loved that was safe. Mm-hmm. Like nothing.
You mean it could be taken?
Yeah.
Nothing was safe.
Yeah.
It could all kind of fall out from right up.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
At that moment.
Right.
Okay.
So I bought the dumb clock. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You bought the
I bought the clock, and I walked out to my car, and I'm sitting in the parking lot. I called my best friend. It was her birthday.
Oh.
Yep. I'm like, I don't know, and she still talks about this to this day. I'm like, I don't know what to, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm not sure. And then there's this element of, if you don't look at it, it's not there. Kicks in.
So we're back to that.
Yep.
Like a
Yep.
coping mechanism that you were used to.
If I don't look at it, it's not there. And I have to take care of everyone. And I have to be the grown up in the room.
Okay.
Because I always have been. And I have to just,
The grown up meaning like being the responsible
Yep.
one. Okay.
yep.
So
So now I had to call my husband. I'm on the way home. And had to tell Tyler. And we had to get him to Roger Maris that night and get the biopsy done. And that was a terrible ride because at this point he can barely even get in the car. So we took him down to Roger Maris and got the biopsy done. And I remember Jay, my husband, and I sitting in the waiting room, and we don't know really what's going on at this point. At this time, we still have hope.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like what's the treatment and what do we got to do?
What are we gonna do? And we still have hope, right? And and I'm saying it's okay, and I have a nursing background, so I'm like, it's okay. They have lots of treatments, and Roger Maris is awesome, and we're gonna get through this. And don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
There's your coping
Yeah.
skill right there.
Don't worry about it. We're gonna get through this.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay. It's fine. Everything is always fine.
It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
So they get Tyler out of the biopsy, and then we have to take him home because at that point we are just waiting for results. And then the next day we have to take him back to Roger Maris again. And it's decided at that point we have to meet with the oncologist. And
So then it starts.
And he was at Roger Maris for a little better than a month. It was probably closer to 6 weeks. And we were staying at Ronald McDonald and staying up there with him. But we did treatment for a while.
So October 10th, you
Yep.
get that call in the clock
Yep.
aisle at Walmart.
Yep.
So the next day, or is it that night, you go up for the biopsy?
We went up for the biopsy that night, and then we had to take him home
But then you went back up.
the next day.
And you said for 6 weeks? He was,
Roughly. Yeah.
So he never went home
No, he went home the one night.
that night. But I mean, once you went back up there the next day,
He was there
he stayed there then for
about 6 weeks.
6 weeks at Roger Maris.
Yeah. And we initially, so when they told us his diagnosis, his type of cancer is called synovial sarcoma.
Okay.
It's like a hit by lightning kind of thing. It's not genetic. It usually affects young men, and it usually affects young men in a limb, so an arm or a leg. And if you amputate, then your rate of cure is nearly 100%.
Okay.
But where Tyler started was where one of his last vertebrae meet. So his started in his spine.
Was that where the break was at?
Yes.
Did the fracture happen because of the
Yes.
four-wheeler accident?
No, it started because of the tumor. This four-wheeler accident had nothing to do with anything. Nothing.
And that was what was the driving force for you to even go like to the chiropractor.
Yeah, it really had nothing to do with anything. But this backache was certainly because of the tumor growing,
Right.
for sure.
Right.
So here's where the what ifs come. The what if, and should I, and da-da-da, and whatever. And I'm a nurse, like, should I have known all this shit happening and whatever? But ultimately, because that tumor started in his spine, and this type of cancer does not respond to chemo. It does not respond to radiation. It responds to being cut out.
Okay.
If we would have known the day it started, you can't cut your spine out.
Right.
So if we would have known when it started, the day it started, there's still nothing we could have done. So the shoulda, coulda, wouldas of this, if we would have known sooner, what would have happened is he would have known he was dying
Earlier.
sooner.
Okay.
So I have come to peace with that because I don't care if he would have known he was dying sooner. I'm glad he didn't.
Because he kept living.
Yeah.
With that knowledge.
Exactly.
Okay.
But
From October.
yeah,
From that moment, though.
he knew.
Then they
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah. But we did try we tried radiation, we tried a few different kinds of chemo, and the tumor grew through it. And he was very sick and really not doing well. He went from being able to walk to not, and couldn't get out of bed, was out of his mind. It was so sick. And this was at the end of this hospital stay is when we had to have the discussion. What do you want to do? The doctor talked to my husband and I first, and just, was like, as we discussed, this cancer is not treatable, but we tried some treatment. The cancer is growing aggressively. Do you want to stay here? Do you want us to keep trying stuff? Or do you want to go home?
Wow.
And ultimately, though, Tyler is 18. So he's an adult. So he has to make this decision, which is a real weird place to be in because he's my kid,
Yeah.
But that's hard because then I have to have this discussion with Tyler, right? So then I go back to Tyler. I'm like, this is what's happening. And to have that discussion with your child and for him to look at you and say, Mom, what do I do? And to explain that to him and to say, really what you're saying is, do you want to go home and die? Or, do you want to stay here and die? I can't express to you in words what that is. And there were people who judged us. There was family who judged us. Certainly that happens. But I feel at peace with what we did because it was the right decision. When we got him home and off of all of those medications, we had hospice. Those last months of his life, he passed away on February 14th. So he was home for several months on hospice. When he got home, he got better. In fact, and there is that, we talk about that honeymoon period. He was walking, he shot a deer out of our window.
He was living.
He was living. And in fact, I remember a conversation him and I had. He said, Mom, I don't feel like I'm sick anymore. And I said to him, do you want to go back? And do you want me to get you checked? And he said no. And of course, I knew he was still sick, but whatever he wanted to do, we would have done. But he felt good, until he didn't. And I'm so happy we did that. He drove his car. He was high on morphine, but
But this has been how many years now since
he passed away in 2010.
So we're at 15 years. It was on February 14th. You've had some time to process this. I'm going to kind of go back just a little bit because you were very good. You've coped and you've processed through some of these steps here, but I'm going to ask you, and again, if this is a tough spot. That day when your son asked you, Mom, what do you do? How do you do that? You have the facts. Was he, he had the facts. He's 18. It's not like he's 7 or 8 and he just can't wrap his brain around it. Tyler was 18. He had the ability, the mental capacity to understand it. That spot right there.
I think as a mother, we always want what's best for our kids, right? So it doesn't matter what you're talking about. You want them to be successful. You want it to be healthy. You want it to be happy. You want all those things, right? When they're born, it's all you want. So in that moment, it's no different. You want what's best for them. I did my, like I said, I'm a nurse, right? So I think I disconnected some of that emotions in that moment and tried to be a little clinical. And I don't mean that to sound,
Understand it.
sound
Heartless, right? You had to deal with facts.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you have a doctor is, I'm sure doctor is,
Yeah.
you know, explaining this and this option, you know, and they've exhausted every option, you know. So I mean, you're faced with some hardcore facts,
Right.
So then you and your husband and your son are.
And my husband was very emotional. And I think for men, men are, and I guess I can't speak for all men, but my husband is very traditional in that he wants to fix everything. And this came into play when we were home with hospice too, and greatly affected our marriage afterwards as well. He wants to fix everything, and he couldn't fix this. And there was nothing he could do about it. And so it was frustrating for him, and it was emasculating for him, very much so. And so he was very emotional, and hard for men to be emotional. And it's changed my husband a lot, and he's a much more emotional man now than he ever was before. You would never see my husband cry, and he does now. I mean, it's changed him profoundly.
I'm just having a tough time listening to this because I put myself into that entire dynamic.
Yeah.
You know, and to really feel that. Yeah. I mean, you know, we say it in anybody that's going through anything in life. You can say a situation in 3 seconds or 10 seconds or 1 minute or one sentence. But I mean, the emotions and the not only the emotions, but the effects are so broad.
Yeah.
And run so deep and will have affected for life.
Yes.
So when you share that stuff, you know, the impact of it is incredible, you know, to not only feel it from when you're sharing this, but I can't even imagine being in that moment for all three of you, you know, and then you have the other children, you know, on top of it, and how that affected for years to come.
It changed all of us. I mean, we're different people than we would have been.
Yep.
I don't know who we would be today if this hadn't happened. I'm not sure. And it's not all negative. I mean, there's many ways that it has changed us positively as well, which is, I always hesitate to talk about that. And, you know, there's that Bible verse that talks about beauty from ashes, but there is a lot of beauty from these ashes that have happened within our family. And, you know, that's a very real thing. I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened very positively because of what has happened so negatively. And I have to embrace those things, because if you don't embrace the blessings, you can really get consumed by what has happened. And I can't live like that. You know, I mean, that's, you know, I would just die too.
Yeah. And as somebody that's going through it, again, we're going to go back to it. You're not acting like a Pollyanna.
No.
No. You're not feeling it. Yeah, right. Right.
This has not been easy.
Right.
This road has not been easy. No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
But you're identifying, maybe not at the moment you were going through it, but in retrospect, you identified the blessings as they came after it, because you went through it.
Yes. And, you know, even as when we were going through the illness part of it, I had a caring bridge, so I would go on there every day, because we had a lot of people who were because he was young, you know, and every day I would go on there. And one of my big things when I was doing that was looking for something positive every single day.
Okay.
And that is sort of me anyway.
Sure.
You know, it's how that is my newly developed coping mechanism, not one that I've inherited. Tried to develop. And when I did the Caring Bridge, I always tried to find a positive story or a funny story or something that was, good. And there was always something positive that you could reflect on the day. It was not always negative. And Tyler wasn't his cancer diagnosis, and Tyler wasn't those last 6 months of his life. Tyler was my firstborn son, and Tyler was so much more than this. And when I talk about Tyler, very rarely do I talk about his cancer. It's probably the most I have in a long time. Tyler, very rarely do I talk about his death. Very rarely do I talk about these terrible things that happened. I talk about when he grew up and the silly things he did and, all of those things, because that's who Tyler is to me.
Makes your heart happy.
Right.
When you think about that stuff.
Yeah, he's not cancer, he's Tyler, he's my kid, and, no different than my other children are.
Right.
I love him because of all of those things, he's not this great stuff. So I think that's important when you are grieving to remember that that person that you lost is not their death. The person that you lost is all the things that were part of their life. It's not the end.
The end.
Yeah. And the more you hang on to those memories and focus on all those good, positive things, it's a comfort.
There's something I want to bring back up, and I know that this is kind of a tougher subject to bring back up, but again, this is a real field insight podcast, and this is why I'm, that we're doing this. But you had mentioned there was some people that didn't agree with the choice that you had made. Yeah. Those are tough spots in there.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of, there's always going to be something in there when it's something so intimate and so private, and it should be just, for whatever reason, there will be, if it's good intention, bad intention, it happens.
Right.
I think more frequently than not.
Right.
That somebody infringes on some territory that they probably shouldn't be infringing on, or they hurt you and did maybe intend it to happen. So
there was a lot of elements of hurt during that time. That was certainly one of them. In retrospect now, I've had years to process and therapy. Sure. Some therapy.
Yeah.
Right. So, so at the time, we lived our life pretty publicly at the time, or at least I did live my life pretty publicly at the time, and that was intentional.
When you say publicly, you mean like you went on Caring Bridge and you gave the details of every diagnosis every day and every step, how he was doing. So that
every emotion, everything that was going on with our family. And I did that with intention because I felt like if someone else was out there and was going through something that we did, and they could read what I was writing, if they could see what I was feeling, if you could offer some sort of help,
I'm sure it was in your heart too.
Yes. Then I would feel like it was maybe what I was going through had meanings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I lived very publicly, and it was pretty raw, right? So, however, on the flip side of that, I wasn't real open with my extended family.
Okay.
Like I hated talking on the phone. I still do. That's like a side effect of all this. Just hate talking on the phone. My phone is ringing off the hook. Stop.
Yeah.
So I lived very publicly. However, like
you personally were very private.
Closed. Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
So I understand.
That also caused a lot of hard feelings. But it was how I wanted to deal with this. So
that's how you could. There wasn't
like it or leave it. This, whatever. And I kind of felt like it's not my problem if you don't like it. That's kind of how I felt about that. But so when you make big decisions like that, it's an intimate decision. But I did choose to put that information out there. Yeah. So yes, maybe some people didn't agree with it, but I also think if you weren't in my shoes, you certainly could judge that decision for a number of reasons. One, you don't know. Two, maybe you love Tyler and that is a grief reaction, or it's a reaction because you're hurting. And so that's a reaction that you're going to have because you're just hurting and you don't know how to express it any other way. And I can forgive both reactions for those reasons. I mean, I can forgive that reaction for both reasons, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't bother me. I know our decision was the right one, so I don't really care if someone has judgment over it.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Right. But like you said, it took years of processing.
Initially, like everybody's reaction, it kind of puts you on edge because you feel defensive, right?
Well, yeah, you feel it's hurt.
Yes. Everything hurts. You're like open wound.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
An open wound about everything.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Too, like when I lost my husband, Brad, my phone was,
it's just nonstop.
it is. And I just couldn't answer the phone. I couldn't. I don't know why. So my children, had answered the phone. And now after I lost, Brad, a very close family loved member. When I see and know somebody else is going through, something similar or losing a loved one, my heart is hurting for them.
And you want to call them, right?
I want to call them. I want to let them know, that I'm thinking of them. What can I do to help? And at the time when I was going through losing my husband, and there were so many decisions and the emotions, and it was just wild, in my head, and my heart was so heavy. You can't always see clearly during that time. And so I think it's a very normal, type of reaction is just to close off. So then there might be some actions that, to try to protrude through that line. Maybe the intentions are right, they're good, but it's a hard time during some really high emotional, times. So very understandable. But the fact that you were able to process that, and work through those hurt things and just forgive both intention.
You have to.
Right. Yeah.
What can you do?
Right. Yeah. Well, not everybody does, Daneele. So I just want to.
It's exhausting to be mad at people.
Yes.
It's just exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
It's
I don't know.
Your heart is.
I can't do that. It's exhausting.
It's because you have a beautiful heart. You really do, and I think you process things, and I think that's very critical for any situation. All the things that we talked about earlier, from your childhood to, as you have progressed through life, you have learned coping mechanisms, you processed a lot of that stuff, and then, ultimately, getting to the death of your child.
Yes. So, so then he died, right? And then you have this next phase, right?
Sure.
So we want to talk about that for a minute, because I think that's harder than the sickness, right?
Sure. So, So I do want to bring you back to, let's see, probably like, obviously we know that, February 14th, all the days in the world.
Although Cass has said, my daughter, okay, so what a beautiful little girl. And we're all just we probably just felt like we wanted to die with him, right? And she said, that's okay, Mommy. He gets to have the best Valentine's Day ever because he gets to be with Jesus. Yeah. So,
wow.
And that's her heart, like 100%. So, yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It's like
out of the mouths of babies.
Yeah.
Sometimes we say, oh, your child, just a child, but those children are around us for a reason at that most opportune time.
Yep.
And that you were allowed to see it and hear it and grasp what that little child said to you.
And I think about it every year on his anniversary. So yeah.
So February 14th, we passed away. What time?
It was in the afternoon.
He was home.
Yeah, he was home. We had hospice there. We were all surrounded to him. We were singing to him. And he just,
Yeah.
like sleep.
Just went to sleep. And
Yeah, he had gone into a coma the night before. Uh, we had all put our pillows and stuff around him. We knew it was, I mean,
imminent.
yeah. And he woke up during the night. The last time he woke up, everybody was sleeping. I was beside him. So last week was really kind of a whirlwind. He went from being awake and to just rapidly going downhill. Hospice had to increase medication, and that's typical for cancer. So he had been sleeping more and more, and that last night he woke up one more time, and I was holding his hand. I was the only one who was awake, and he said, "Mom, it's almost time, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "But it's okay. So it's all right for you to go." And he says, "All right, Mom." And then he closed his eyes and woke up again. So,
so a mother's wish, of being happy, at the very last moment that you could get that, knowing what you were doing for him, you were telling him it's okay to go. So wow, what a love from a mother to a child, and just giving him that grace
reassurance.
And that reassurance. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And that he, thank you for sharing that was,
just a moment. And then he never woke up.
No.
And then he had passed away. He said he went home to Jesus. How wonderful is that, to have that faith? Some people struggle with that. And that's a difficult, spot in there. When you do let somebody go, like, where do they go? And I know this is a hard topic right here, because I had to process that, when I let my husband go. And, it's like, well, let him go. Like, let him go where? What happens during that time? So there's a lot,
there's a lot,
to understand Jesus, to understand that. And some people aren't there, and they're not going to go there. I am there. Brad did go home. My husband is gone. And when my time is, up, then I get to join him. So, I think that's a spot right there that's a little difficult sometimes to process in and of itself.
To wrap your head around, and that, like,
because it's a faith. Faith is something you believe in, but you can't see it. And, so it's difficult. It's very, very difficult, and it's very, very hard. And every person has to have their own, not even our own children can have that same relationship, with that faith. So, it's very difficult, but I think when you say he's home,
he's home. He's home.
Jesus. Very comforting. Very comforting. Ultimately, we will get to see them again. Not because of anything we did. No, because of what Jesus did. So, all right. So afterwards, now.
So the before and after, you're just kind of running on adrenaline, and to get through that illness period, where you're just, it's Tyler, focus. And then he's gone. And, during the period of illness, my role in that period of time was caregiver. Even with hospice, Tyler wanted me to do his cares. I took care of his bathing. I took care of his catheter. I took care of his meals. I took care of his medication, everything, because he wanted Mom to do all of that. It was almost reverting back to him being an infant. I mean, he couldn't toilet himself. He couldn't. It was, and he is an 18-year-old man. Like, you would think that this would be, if we're being open here, that this would be embarrassing, or it would be uncomfortable, but it wasn't. It was as if it was just very natural, and he wanted me to do all of these things for him.
Well, and you had a purpose.
You had a job. Had a job.
Do so young.
And my husband did not. My husband sat in the recliner next to the hospital bed and watched TV with him and visited with him. So in my mind, he did have a purpose, So his purpose was to do that. But in my husband's mind, he had no purpose. He didn't have anything to do. And I was busy all the time. And I was still, at the time I was working at home. And I was working just enough hours to keep our health insurance because we had to have that, because I carried it. And so I was working, at 4 a.m. to whatever to keep, just enough to get the health insurance paid. And then from there, I was doing all these cares, and we still had to take care of Carter and, my other kids, and make sure they were in school, and, they had homework, and they had.
Your plate was full.
I was exhausted. But I had a purpose. And my husband, his work is such that he works in the summer and he's laid off in the winter. So we were fortunate in that this was his layoff time. So his work wasn't disrupted in this respect. So he was in a recliner. He was by Tyler. He was visiting with him. He was, putting him in the handicap van and taking him to Menards if you wanted to go there or whatever. But this was, and in my mind, again, he did have a purpose. This was his job. This was his job, right? But again, for him, he felt like he was sure nothing, right? So, and my husband is like my kids. He's very much outdoors. Sure. He doesn't sit in the house. He never. He doesn't do that. He's an undiagnosed ADHD victim. So he does
I got
not
it. I understand.
in the house.
Right. So
So
it has to be busy, just doing something all the time.
he was going crazy. And so, in addition to I can't fix this, I'm sitting in the house. I don't have a purpose. Who is he going to take this out on?
You.
Yes, right? And he didn't see that. I certainly felt it. Our friends certainly saw it. There's tension, constant. And, we're not connecting maritally at all during this time. We're sleeping in different shifts. We're sleeping in different places. It was rough.
It was rough.
By the time we get to this funeral, I'm ready to walk out. That is 1,000% truth. That's a truth.
When you're married,
Yes.
you just
I'm done. I'm absolutely done with this man. I'm done. But he wasn't done. So, and I don't know. I think he was completely clueless with what was going on. And then we're in this.
He probably wasn't clueless. He was processing in a different way.
Different way, yes.
And men and women are very,
Very different. 100%.
Yeah. So he just wasn't. He didn't have the cold.
Yes.
And we gotta, statistically, truthfully, what is the stats on? It's death of a child in the marriage.
It's over 50%. I mean, it's high.
I was gonna say it's pushing. I thought it was like maybe between 80 and 90.
It's high. It's high. It's very, very high. It's extremely high. So the funeral comes. I'm done. I'm checked out. I'm like, I am 100% checked out. I'm exhausted.
You're just existing.
I'm checked out. I know I've got these other kids to care for, and but like me, I'm just checked out 100%. But if you don't look at it, it's not there, and everything's fine, and you have to keep moving, and so that's going to kick in right now. Okay. That's where we're at, right? So the funeral comes and goes, and my husband has to go back to work because we're, kind of at that time of year. I have to go back to work because, after a couple of weeks, and this is just real life. I mean, real life is you can't lay down on the couch and just pretend like things are going to, life does go on. It's an unfortunate thing, but that is the truth of the matter. And my other kids need some sort of stability, and they're just littles, and this has just changed them profoundly, and they just don't know what to do when they've lost a brother, and it's so
well, and virtually they not only lost their brother physically, but a unit of a home
that is just falling apart,
is broken because of all these different mom and dad. And sometimes we want to protect our children, but they know it, and they
of course
see
they
it.
do.
they might not be able to verbalize it
Yeah.
and articulate it quite right, but they see it and they know it. So I mean, not only, you know, did they lose their brother, but there's so many, and you've lost in your mind when you say that you're done. I think you meant your marriage.
Yeah.
So you're married, you lost a child, you're married, you're done.
Yeah.
And yes, you do have 2 children.
Yeah.
But
it was a lot.
A lot.
It was a
There's
lot.
a lot going on there.
It was a lot. But my nature is, I need to, I'm fine. I need to plow through. I need to go. I need to just, whatever needs to be done, I need to do this. Right. So
I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind me stopping right here. So you have, now it's been 15 years. You have a way of expressing and articulating real clarity with how you processed it. When now, so there's that. And then, but you're just at the time of the death of your son's death, and then afterwards, you are not identifying that. You're just plowing through. Okay. So,
yeah, I'm not identifying what's wrong with me at this point.
Okay.
I'm just
surviving.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
surviving because I know I have to.
You have to.
And I can't fall apart.
Okay.
I cannot fall apart because it's my job to hold this together.
Okay.
And it's my job to be the adult in the room.
Okay. You've used that comment a couple of times.
Yes.
So is this kind of a coping mechanism for when you were a child and your mom and dad?
Yes,
For
both parents. For
both parents, both biological parents, in the situation that you grew up with. You've referred to yourself as, I've got to be the parent and the adult in the room. So now you're falling apart again. Can we say that?
Yep. Again.
For the second time.
Yep. Probably adult.
Okay. Fair enough. You're falling apart, but you're just forging through.
Yes.
Okay. So so a lot of times people do the same thing. And it's the moments that you fall apart are the most broken you've ever been.
Yes.
And I think we're going to get there, but I think from that spot right there, there's only one way. It's up, because you can't get much lower.
You can't.
Yeah. So you know, so to be able to articulate the way you articulate today, which, by the way, you're phenomenal. How you can articulate your feelings, honestly. It's a treat to be able to tap into some of the hardest emotions to express, and you can do it so well. So you're you're at the bottom, and you're just forging through. Okay, can you kind of...
How did that happen?
It's been 15 years.
Yeah.
So what process took place other than just time?
Yeah, some of it is just time. That first year, there wasn't a lot of movement. I will say that. That first year is just a lot of existing. And I don't think that's different for a lot of people working through. And I can only speak to losing a child, right? So that first year just was a lot of learning how to live in this world without Tyler here, right? And I think the catalyst or the turning point, because my husband and I were living,
coexisting.
Right. And his coping mechanism, and I don't think he'd be mad if I said this because he's honest about it too. He was drinking a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very common again.
And I've been open about, I came from an alcoholic family. So for me, that's a real trigger. I don't.
So it's kind of going from bad to worse.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not against drinking. They'll have a drink with the best of them. This is not my point. But if it's becoming a regular, chronic, and this is what I was witnessing. And so we're about a year deep into this, and I'm witnessing this becoming more and more and more. And I know that this is a hard pass for me. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, I did this, I'm not doing this.
Because you saw the trickle down effect.
Correct. So we're about a year deep into this. We're just kind of living, just learning how to live. Like, how do I breathe now? How can I breathe this new air and still walk and still do my job and still take care of my kids and still just live. You know, that first year was just, there was no big, profound, whatever. It was just, how do I, be? But that was probably my turning point, or like, I recognize waking up, that's probably a good term. Waking up and seeing my partner and what was going on, and seeing what I was doing, which was completely disconnected. Like, I was functioning, but I was disconnected from everything, emotionally, mentally.
Understandable.
Just really disconnected, seeing what was going on. And like, if I can't do this, like, he can't be doing this, I can't be ignoring I can't look away and pretend it's not happening. I can't, like, my whole life, I can't just look away and pretend. I can't use this coping skill. I can't not look at it. Yeah, I can't look at it, pretend it's not happening, and be disconnected. I can't do that. So I've got to plug back into this family and deal with this and go up. I gotta plug back in, or I've got to, or not. I mean, we've got to have decision here. And so I had that talk with my husband. Like, this can't. It's a hard pass, right? Yeah. If we're going to continue down this road, if this is what you're going to do, I can't be Gary.
Yeah.
And he recognized that. He recognized what he was doing 100%.
Well, he probably knew it.
Yes,
But that was his coping,
1,000%. So 1,000%. And from that point, I think it was almost like waking up from a fog.
Okay.
I think
About a year later.
And just plugging back in. Right. So he started plugging back in. I started plugging back in. I've been in therapy off and on since then, in various things. And it's just been step by step. And, my kids have had challenges. My husband and I have had challenges. I can't tell you a magic bullet of what has made things work. We've had struggles through the years. My kids have had a lot of struggles. Big struggle for my son, I think, will always be, he feels like he lives in his brother's shadow. Oh, sure. And that's a hard thing. And I'm really careful that I don't compare them, but I think it is hard to, he always will, I mean, and I feel so bad for him, and that's something he struggles with. My daughter struggles with anxiety, and I wonder if it comes from this.
Sure.
And like I said, I don't think we'll ever be the same people that we were before. Yeah. So, I don't know. I can't tell you 15 years later why I am coping as well as I am. There's been a series of things. There's been therapy. There's been better communication with my husband. We've always been very open about talking about Tyler. It's never been, we can't talk about it. If we're sad, we can be sad. If we want to cry, we cry. Like I said, my husband is way more emotional than he ever was before. He's a very emotional person now. He never was before. Can my kids talk about Tyler? We don't hide that. Sure. And I think that's helpful. Sure. Yeah. So, I don't know the magic answer to
sure. Yeah. But I think we maybe had touched on it earlier, just walking through it. And you've identified, there was marital issues, which is very, more common than not. Worrying about the reactions from the siblings to Tyler, to your children. There's so many components that play into that, but processing now, working, it just takes one day at a time. It's a hard thing. I think we've done a lot of charity work, and I think it's volunteer work related to Tyler. With we built on that over the last 15 years, and I think that was helpful too. It gave us a purpose, sure, and we did it as family. So I think in our world, that was very helpful to us.
especially me, I know, because it did give us a purpose. It gave us a legacy. It's really fun to run into people and they'll say, oh, I remember Tyler, and, I came to your event and I got to see you and talk about him. And it has made people know Tyler outside of even knowing him. He was shy because of the things that we've done in his name.
Well, you kept him alive.
Yes.
Through that. And that's a very therapeutic thing.
And I would recommend that, even not necessarily to the extent that we have done, but even things like, volunteering Tyler died of cancer, volunteering at a cancer hospital, or, my sister passed away this last January and she struggled with drugs and alcohol in her life. So volunteering at to make the world a better place at a drug and alcohol house, or volunteering in a women's shelter. I don't know, pick your something, but doing something with a purpose, I think really helped my grief process. But again, I've said a number of times, my coping mechanism a lot of times is keep moving. Well, when there's nothing
So
so
that, no, we all have to keep going. It's when we're moving, we have to process, that.
as long as you are doing that while you're
As long as you're
running away.
Yeah, right.
You want to stick your head in the sand.
Right. And people have related to that. I had this necklace. This is my husband's fingerprints. And there has been 4 more grandchildren that have been added to our home since Brad passed away. So I always, I say, do you want to touch Papa's finger? Just to kind of keep Papa alive.
Yeah.
To our children. It's something very small, but it's for me.
Yeah.
It's for me. So something very small to keep Papa, Papa alive. So those little things like that, it might happen really oddly, come about, right? But they came about. So whatever it is, sometimes some of those things just to keep them alive.
Yeah.
I have a friend that still after 15 years has a picture of her husband, just sitting right next to the bedstand 15 years later.
Yeah.
And I think how connected that love still is. And I think that's pretty special.
Love doesn't die, just because that person is gone. But, those memories, you have to, I think that it is so important, to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. We were fortunate to have a lot of memories. I think one of the hardest things in losing a child, and I've talked about this to other parents who have lost children, is the memories that you don't have. And the things that you grieve that you will not have. So my son recently asked his girlfriend to marry him. So it's a very exciting time. However, one of my, this is probably going to sound weird, but one of my biggest struggles in my grief journey, and I most of my, well, actually, I think all of my girlfriends now are grandmas. So, no, I'm gonna cry. One of my biggest struggles in my grief journey is missing those things that I never had. And if Tyler were here, I probably would be baptized. Or he probably would be buried. And I would never have those things, with him. And I think as a parent, when you lose your child, those things you miss that you never have are the hardest.
So you get to the core.
So it's hard to go to your, it was hard to go to like Tyler's friends' weddings.
Sure.
It's hard to see his friends have babies. Because we've been through this, through the years. We've seen, all that stuff.
Well, the graduation.
Yeah.
The college, if that's what he would have done.
Yeah.
Like you said, the weddings, perhaps he would have gotten married, perhaps the grandchildren already.
So you miss those memories you never got. I think that's the hardest. That's the hardest as a parent. You miss things going down. Yeah.
Well, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
It's not something like that happened 10 years ago. It's something that is ongoing, and it will, keep on.
You make up memories in your head that you never had.
Coulda, can.
So, well, I'm excited for my son to now be married. Us like imprinting things in my head,
Sure.
So, yeah, that's tough.
I can not involved day that the wedding takes place. It's your son, but you're thinking it's tight. It could have been, or what would have it been like?
Yeah.
Times. Yeah, I'm sorry. Daneele, I want to thank you so much for opening up your heart. I'm going to get emotional now, thanking you, because I know how deep the wounds have been, for you, not only from your childhood, but then weathering and going through the seasons of life. And I want to thank you so much for doing this. And exposing some really tough moments, truthful moments and real moments. It's been difficult, but I knew that you would be a good candidate for this, because you just have a good human for doing this. Because you have a heart of gold. You have a helpful heart. You're always there, ready to help and be in service in any way that you're capable of doing. So thank you very much for doing that and for joining me on Real Feel Insights.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun.
A pleasure.